Scatter plot. That sounds weird, but a scatter plot is just a graph of two variable data points. So think of a bunch of ordered pairs and graphing them. And sometimes you create these scatter plots in order to maybe see a pattern. So for instance, with that first example that we did, maybe over time somebody noticed that for X Snickers bars, the profit looks something like this. Not a perfect curve if you couldn't draw a perfect curve through these points, but maybe over time they realized that the graph looks like this. So what are they plotting here? They're plotting the X, X is the number of Snickers bars versus the profit that's made from X Snickers bars. So they're plotting those values perhaps, or using some other means to get those values. And they realize, oh, this kind of looks like one of our curves. It kind of looks like a parabola upside down, right? I mean, there's no one parabola you could use to fit through those points, but maybe you could get some sort of average and come up with that equation that we had above that best fits those points. And in fact, there is a way to do that. Whereas with the other example, when we're minimizing costs, so in the minimizing cost example, the input was n, and the output was c, or c of n. Maybe you could graph some data values that don't lie in a perfect curve, but more or less are parabolic. And so maybe you could use that scatter plot. The points, by the way, are the scatter plot. The curve I'm drawing is maybe the curve of best fit, the best, that's closest on average to those points. And then the scatter plot I showed you earlier was earlier this semester was maybe your weight versus blood pressure, right? Systolic blood pressure. So you would think that the more you weigh, other factors we're not taking into account, like smoking status, whether or not you're overweight. Let's just say that this scatter plot is from people who are not they're relatively healthy, but the only real difference between them is their weights. And you might create a scatter plot and expect blood pressure to increase. For a bigger person needs to pump more blood. And so maybe you wouldn't expect the points in the scatter plot. So again, the points make up the scatter plot. Maybe you wouldn't expect the points in the scatter plot to lie in a curve like a parabola, maybe more a straight line, right? And so the line of best fit or curve of best fit might actually be a line in that case. So I don't want you to misinterpret anything I've said here. The scatter plot, I'm going to erase the line because the scatter plot is actually the points themselves. And they look all scattered, which is where the name comes from.